Have you ever heard the idiom, God works in mysterious ways? I'm going to go for a walk here behind this building and talk to you off the cuff for a moment. And I guess this should be the homelessness blog for today. I don't know what to brand this as, but I'm sitting on the bus, and my guy that I talked to, he tapped me on the shoulder and he wanted to talk. And so I asked him, "Did you get that gig? How you doing?" And you know, he kind of nudged me, and he didn't get the gig, and that's okay. God will provide for him. And he goes, I got my vitamins, and he shows me his little bottle of whiskey, and I said, "Hey man, if that's what gets you through, that's what gets you through." And he says, "Man, I can make it through anything with this." And I'm going to be honest with you. There are nights, there have been nights, there are nights, there have been nights for about 7 years, I guess, that I think to myself, so long as I've still got bud, weed, I can make it. I can make it through anything so long as I still know I've got grass at home. And this is not what this story is about, confessing that. And I'm going to tell you a story about that as an act of confession. And so this goes into my confession series. And he confessed that to me, and I said, "Hey man, it's all good. It's all good. You're going to find you a gig, and you're going to make it through anything." And I said, he said, "You didn't say hey to me when I got on the bus." And I said, "You know what? I didn't even notice you were there, man. I was all up in this text telling my friend about how excited I am about my YouTube channel." And he asked me what I was doing. And I said, "Man, I've been really hitting this YouTube channel hard since I sold my stuff." And he knew I sold my stuff. He knows. They've all figured out I'm homeless. And so I said, I'm just working on this YouTube channel as hard as I can, and I finally got myself ahead. I'm finally a week ahead in production. I've been telling you I want to get a week ahead, and I did it. I figured out how to do it, and I'm so stoked about that. I just said it out loud to effectively a stranger, but I also talked today about how it takes about a month for people to incorporate you into their worldview. And so I practiced that, not worldview, way of life. I practiced what I preached, and I incorporated him into my world like he's my actual friend, and he reciprocated, and it was awesome. But that's not the interesting part of the story. I thought that was going to be the end of it, because he goes, "Man, that's cool," and that was going to be the end of it. And then I didn't realize there was a teenager sitting right beside me, and he goes, "Oh dude, you're on YouTube?" It's all it takes to be famous around a teenager is to say you're on YouTube. And he goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I do a lot of different things. The thing that you would think is interesting is I like to play retro games from when I was a kid. So I'm playing a bunch of Final Fantasy games." And so his brother or his dad or somebody, his male guardian effectively, he's like, "Yeah, I remember Final Fantasy." And I said, "It's really hard." And that's what people don't really understand about Final Fantasy, is they used to be brutal in their difficulty, and they've been nerfed like crazy the last 5 or 6 years. But they used to be just absolutely soul crushing in their difficulty. And I told him that I'm trying to, and he goes, "Oh, so you're like trying to go in and really complete it, get a completionist run." And I said, "Yeah, I'm doing a speed run." I said, "I just finished a speed run of it that's gonna be posted by the end of this week. You'll get to see." I said it was the first game I'm aware of where there was a side quest to make your characters really powerful, and so I tried to do it as early as possible. And I explained that that's really difficult. And anyway, I explained that to him, and then I said, "But I also use foul language, and I'm honestly," I said, I call it talking to the future, because I'm aiming at people your age, helping you get to adulthood, and then once you're in adulthood, really lock down who you want to be and what you want to do with your life, because it's so easy to fuck it up." And I didn't say that part, but my guy tapped me on the shoulder like, "Yeah, yeah." And I could tell he was really getting into what I'm doing. And then he calls me Dimebag, which I like because I'm a stoner, but we bonded over Pantera. But anyway, he the kid, he really wanted to know. He's like, "Wow, okay, that's really cool." And so he took pictures of both of my channels, right, Shaggy Filolitea and Talking to the Future. And then I explained to him, I said, but I also, on the main channel, I do talk really big stuff, and I've tried to keep my channel small, and I have tried to keep it small to keep from looking like a big mega church guy who's just trying to make money. And I said, I do talk about the Bible. And he got really excited. He goes, you talk about the Bible? And I was like, yeah, I read from the Bible. I'm doing a big series. And I said, but I do have foul language. And then the woman in front of me starts laughing, and she goes, man, when you get into spirit, when you're talking about God and you're reading that book, your mouth just, it says what it's going to say. And I said, it's like having Tourette's. I have no control over it. And I said, in that way, what I am doing is prophecy. And now I have a loud voice, and I wasn't keeping it down. And I realized, shit, I'm stoned on a bus with a bunch of people, and I just called myself a prophet. And exactly none of them even flinched. Holy shit, God works in absolutely mysterious and wonderful ways. My whole life, I have been terrified to call what I'm doing prophecy when I go off like that. I have been terrified that if even saying it, you don't know how many times I've written it down in scripts to read out loud, and then I've just not read the script because I have just been utterly terrified that calling myself a man of God who is homeless but also prophesies to small groups. They all know what Jesus was like. All of these broken people understand Jesus so much better than you do. Oh my God, that kid got so fucking excited. And then he showed me his music. And so we talked about, I'm certain that the name of the school is Capital University. But I was telling him, I was like, you're a little young, but you're good. You're very good. His music was legitimate good. His sister and he did this duet, and I told him the dual layered vocals is something that I want to hear when I listen to EDM. This is really good. And he glowed, and I wasn't blowing smoke up his ass. I would listen to that. But I'm more likely to listen to and consume, like I keep telling you, the things of the people who are around me. He goes, I'm going to subscribe, and I'll subscribe back, and I will listen to his stuff. Not a lot, but enough, because it matters to me, just like it matters to me to show up for Madge. And like I said on Twitter, a friend is a second self. You show up. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's your friend, you show up. Because you would show up for your shit. And they're you, as far as you're concerned. A lover also shows up. So if you're a friend or a lover, if you're philos, in any way, you show up. It's that easy. That's how I knew my parents didn't love me. They never showed up for anything. You just show up. And if you don't show up, you have a good reason. Like, I got really anxious about being with a new person that I didn't know on the phone, and I overslept because that's just what I do. I'm flaky in that way. I don't like really getting to know new people. And fine, that runs contra to the idea of being on the internet to meet new people. But sometimes, that life I lived in an extreme amount of stress, and adding more on top of it just gave me panic attacks. And so I had a panic attack. And so that was awesome. I just said it, and nobody pushed back. I looked up and I looked around and I went, oh, I just said that. And nobody. And I was me about it. I talked the same way to that kid that I do into my mic, because I'm the same guy. What a day. I was explaining that, I have a lot of time now. And so I couldn't play these games when I was a kid because I just didn't have the time. And I wasn't going to, and his guardian laughed because I said they were so hard. These games were designed to be so hard, and I just didn't have the time or the patience as a kid. I had other stuff to do, and he remembered the 90s. I had fields to run in and trees to climb and this. I had this. You understand? I had the sun, and I had the wind, and I had grass under my feet, and I had a street to ride my bike on. You know, I had a little brother to protect and to help raise and to teach about being the age that I was. And none of that has changed for me. The only difference is that my little brothers just happen to be maybe not little, maybe not my, well, you know, and I'm trying to teach you how to be older than me and how to be more successful than I am. Because I never wanted to be successful. Not like that kid. That kid wants to sell beats to real rappers, and that kid wants him and his sister to be Billie Eilish. You understand, and her brother. You know, that kid wants out of poverty. And I never wanted out of poverty. I've always loved my poverty, because with poverty of the flesh comes richness of the spirit, and my spirit has been so enriched by this 4-week experience. Today is Monday number 5, and I just look at this. I don't care. That I look like I haven't taken a bath in a month. I haven't. I don't smell. I know I haven't shaved, but I wouldn't anyway. I don't maintain this beard. I don't give a fuck. Women like it. Women like a guy who just doesn't give a fuck and makes it look hot. And I mean, I have a 6-pack that I never had before. My chest is starting to fill out from carrying that bag around. My shoulders are rounding out. I'm putting weight back on. This bird hates my shit. This bird hates my shit. I don't know where it is, but it hates my shit. It lets me know every time I come out here, I hate your fucking shit. I get it, pal. I do get it. But I got to stream with Madge here, so I should really get off. And I'm going to tell you this. Get off. I should end this video. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to confess to you a story that's true about me. I determined in 2020 during COVID that I could handle any living environment, any amount of abuse, so long as I had weed. And I did. I did. The worst moment of my life the last 5 years. I had these cats, Wiley and Vader. They're both dead now. But I had these cats, and they were great. And Wiley liked to be involved in everything I was doing, and so I was down to that dreaded, this is my last smoke until blank. I just didn't know when I was going to be able to afford another bag again. And I was scraping up all of my keef and getting every single dust of THC that I could. And I got it all set up on my little tray, right in the corner, ready to go, ready to be scooped right up into my bowl. And Wiley pounced the opposite corner, and I got to watch my last smoke until God knows when, which I wasn't even packing for that morning while I was doing it. I was packing it for that night when I got home from my abusive and utterly toxic work environment, so that at least, and I just got to watch a cloud of relief dissolve into the ether. And I cried. I did, I cried. I sat right there on the floor and I cried like he had killed my Vader. Like he'd killed Vader. I cried and I cried and I despaired. And I wailed and I moaned. And I took out a payday loan and I bought another bag that night because fuck that. Fuck ever feeling that ever again. Ever again. And so when my guy told me that that little bottle, enough to get him to sleep that night, was enough for him to get through the despair and self-motivate to wake up and look for a job the next day, not only do I not judge him, I understand him. Not only do I understand him, but I know what Jesus would have done. Jesus would have encouraged him to take care of himself and get that job. Hey man, you got this. I believe in you is what Jesus would have said. What did Jesus say? Jesus said to his apostles, go out into the world and spread the good news to the poor. He didn't say anything about charity. He said, spread the good news. He said, tell them things that will make them hopeful. And it worked. Do you understand that it worked? The Roman Empire fell. It worked. Today, we're talking about righteousness because he was right. God works in utterly mysterious ways. And I keep telling you to keep your eyes open. I keep explaining to you how synchronicity and superstition and oracle reading work without really talking about them, because I do understand that ultimately I'm speaking to 13-year-olds. And that's okay. That's good. Children are beautiful, and they need all the guidance they could get. All the guidance they can get. And they can't look out into the world. It's so funny. I think about those firesides so much because we didn't talk about them. It was the most uncanny experience. We never talked about anything we talked about ever again. It was the most uncanny experience. And I've never been in a conversation that was so in a hurry to move that wasn't a topics-oriented conversation before. It was really uncanny for me, and I'm saying the word uncanny a lot because it's a word that I want you to get acclimated to understanding and knowing and saying instead of weird or strange. I couldn't ken it. And it was weird. They asked me what I thought about Kamala Harris. And it was the strangest thing. I said, I just don't think she's a good person. And that just fell on kind of weirdly deaf ears. Like, we have to vote for a bad person. But what if Trump's not a bad person? I read a little bit of Job today for the meta text of John, and Job makes it clear that you can't, that once you've made a sin offering, or once you've cleared a sin from your conscience, God can't hold you accountable for sins that he's forgiven. And so I have to wonder if Trump being born again doesn't actually acquit him of all his crimes, real and imagined, against the American people and otherwise. I think it does. I think that if he's actually born again in the flesh, Trump, he's a good person. I think everything that he's done since losing this election, that last election, has proven that he's actually a good person on the inside. If you want to be the man, you have to be the man. But what you have to worry about on your road to being the man is becoming the man. And I wonder if Trump didn't figure that out in office. Oh, wait a minute, I'm the most powerful person in the world. I no longer have to act like these other assholes. I can just be a good person. There was somebody else who had that revelation once. His name was Cyrus. Now I call him Cyrus the Yeah, Me Too, because he's also Cyrus the Great. But the great thing that he did was killing Darius. And what made him great wasn't that he killed Darius, because Darius was the best thing since sliced bread. They hadn't come up with sliced bread yet, so what do I want to say? The best thing since the iron plow. They didn't really have the iron plow, I don't think, but that's not the point. Darius was truly great. And by great, I mean big. He did a lot of big things. He conquered a lot of big places. He did some big things. Cyrus, I say, yeah, me too. Because Cyrus didn't do anything great. But Cyrus was great at something. Cyrus was great at propaganda. And so I imagine him going, yeah, me too. About everything everybody said about everybody before him. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, me too. And you could do that when you were the king of kings back then. Because who was going to stop you? Well, Cyrus invents a little religion called Zoroastrianism. And Cyrus figures out that, sure, Darius set the Jews free. But what if I weaponized them? And so that's how you know he's not a good person, is what I'm telling you. That's a metric for how you can know whether your leader is a good or a bad person, is whether he's willing to weaponize ethnic groups. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have already weaponized ethnic groups. Not just against Donald Trump and these 2 assassination attempts, but against the American people for 4 years. For 4 years before that as well. The Democrats under Obama did the same for 8 years. The Democrats have done nothing but undermine your safety, your security, your rights, and frankly, your will to live since their inception. When is enough enough? That's what I want to know. When is enough outright bad people in office enough? The answer can't be soon enough for me. You know, I'm over here reading Amos and Micah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Jonah as my new favorite books, and all of those books are promising the utter destruction and obliteration of Mesopotamia. And what happened? Do you know what happened? The utter destruction and obliteration of Mesopotamia. And you know how you can tell that God is particularly displeased with the way we're behaving now? The utter destruction of Mesopotamia. No one lives in Iraq and Iran anymore. Why? Why do you think? Beyond the climate change, why do you fucking think? You know, it's amazing. The Arabs were behaving like Arabs long before Islam. So we can stop blaming Islam. We could just go right to the Bible and say these motherfuckers are just brain fucked. Are they brain fucked or are they culturally brain fucked? people who care about whether you're a practicing or a cultural Jew or Christian. Not are you a practicing or cultural Muslim? Are you practicing or cultural brain fucked? But that could be said of feminists and neo-pagans and New Age and I Am Christians broadly. God works in mysterious ways. If ye seek, ye will find. I promise you that. Just have to seek. Just keep your eyes open, hands up, palms out, head on a swivel. I believe in you, kids. Just gotta give me a place to show up, alright? Take care.